like the Volkswagen whatchamacallit.
Stay there. You're absolutely right. And the UN did the light bulb ban. It's the smoking ban is a UN treaty all over the world. We just pass it locally. Wow.
We all know the importance of having...
All the preparations are being made to shut the country down. The last 5-6 years, total continuity agenda between Bush and now Obama, trying to block being able to get your money out even legally. Almost all the big money leaving the United States because they've already sucked it dry. They know what they're going to do. Bob Chapman left the United States because of persecution. The Bushes are down in Paraguay, right on a key smuggling route with hundreds of thousands of acres. So they've done a great job, and they're just going to leave us behind with a giant paramilitary army. There's a new article at Infowars.com by Steve Watson, who's been on fire lately. Maryland cops to be trained on U.S. Constitution after illegally arresting protesters. Pro-life demonstrators, including teenage girls, were strip-searched, shackled by officers who said they could rot in cells. State police in Maryland have been ordered to undergo training on the First and Fourth Amendments following an 2008 incident during which 18 pro-lifer protesters were arrested, shackled, and strip-searched, including underage girls. And we have links to all the mainstream news articles admitting it, but they think it's good, though. It's like, well, this is good. The incident occurred when members of the group Defend Life peacefully demonstrated on public property in Hartford County, August 2008, as part of their Face the Truth campaign. Around a dozen state officers arrived on the scene and told the protesters they did not have a permit. Again, a permit's to block roads, folks, but they tricked the cops into thinking it's everything. They think, you have to have a permit for a gun, too, and would be arrested unless they packed up and left. When asked what specific ordinance the demonstrators needed a permit to protest, one officer responded, "I'm not giving it to you at 5 o'clock at night. I'm a state police officer. I know the law. That's it." And it was captured on film where this all happened. It's at Infowars.com. And it's just really creepy, man. I've had it happen in Austin where I'm videotaping something. A cop pulls up over and over again. It's happened to Mike Hansen. Gets out, walks over and says, "Turn your camera off." And they go, "I'm going to arrest you. It's a lawful order." And I go, "No, it isn't. I'm not just some idiot that doesn't know my rights. I'm going to sue you." "Oh, what, you don't like cops?" "No, I like living in a free country. I'm not," okay? And I've been filming police at a checkpoint 200 yards away, knowing they'd come over. And I'm like, "You're interfering with us." "No, I'm not. I'm 200 yards away. I'm going to arrest you. Go ahead. Next." "Oh, what, are the Serbs going to invade?" That's on video at a highway checkpoint, and they shut down I-35. And I go, "No, you're invading. What is this, a federal grant to do this?" "How do you know that?" "Because I know how they're trying to destroy America, officer. I've got the data. I want you to live in a free country, too. So stop. First it's intimidation, then it's laugh at me. Why don't you just be an American? I know a bunch of crooks run the government, but can't you be smart enough to not be mad at some pro-lifers and just, I'm sorry, I'm ranting, Bob Chapman, but there are some good signs happening. The TSA had a video blocked exposing them. There was outcry, and the video got put back up yesterday. So we are seeing victories, Bob Chapman.
Yes, we are. And when you see those kinds of things happen to people when they're dragged off to jail, going to jail is one thing. It's certainly intimidating. I know, I've been there. But what is worse is the mental turmoil and the scars that you're putting on the people. It's pure terrorism. There's no better word for it. And they're trying to terrorize the public into allowing them, law enforcement, military, whatever, to tell you what to do, how to do it, whether you like it or not, whether it's a law or not. And if you argue, down to the dungeon and you're naked. And this is a kind of tactics that they're taught in order to make people submissive.
And they beta tested it all on pro-lifers. I've got the film in my martial law documentary where they would break pro-lifers' arms for just sitting on the sidewalk and call it pain compliance. Hardcore, life-threatening torture. But it's not torture because they call it pain compliance, Bob.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Federal Reserve saying we're going to have a currency swap with the European Central Bank when, in fact, it's a loan, and it's illegal from both ends. It's the same nomenclature, the changing of terms, the pseudo-intellectuality of it all.
Well, that's like the state police called like 5 different people the day before we went down to cover them. They must have our phones tapped or something with these gunboats they've got. And I kept talking to different members, and they kept the state police kept calling, going, Alex Jones isn't on the air on this station, is he? He's a liar. You need to do something. They're like, no, he's on the radio here, but technically he doesn't work there. Well, no. Well, good. And our guys get there to interview him. They're like, you're a liar. You're not on KLBJ. You don't work there. And it was like some weird game to like make us bad and to say we're liars because we want to cover them getting all these machine gun boats. Just bizarre how they operate. Stay there, Bob. I want to get into the economy, where it's going, what you think people should do to try to get this impeachment going against Obama. Because I was always saying Obama's a puppet, but now he has been given dictator power. It's illegitimate, but he's actually taking it. And to go in and slap the senators around, man, they must have some dirt on them. Wow. I want to get Bob's take on that. The Dave Mustaine thing's coming up. I'll also tell you about, well, I'll tell you about when we come back.
We're on.
Okay, we're going back to Bob Chapman here in just a moment to cover a host of news with him and also ask him what's coming out in tomorrow's International Forecaster, internationalforecaster.com. I'm Alex Jones. Our websites are prisonplanet.tv, prisonplanet.com, and Infowars.com. Twitter.com/Real Alex Jones. And then, of course, we have a big Facebook page and a lot more. I'm still just speechless how they're openly saying the UN runs the presidency. And again, next time they do it, we won't be as shocked. But I'm going to get to all that in a moment. Dave Mustaine, one of the founders, of course, Metallica, and then Megadeth, rock royalty, is a Christian, a patriot, a listener of this show. His wife is another great person, Pam. I've talked to her on the phone a lot, but never met her in person. Met Dave in person before. It was really great spending a couple days with him here in Austin when they ended the latest leg of their Gigantor tour with Motorhead. And I've done some sit-down interviews with him before. I've done a lot of radio interviews with him over the years. One time I called up to get him on as a guest and found out he was already a listener. That's how we were able to get him like 5-6 years ago on the show. So he's been awake to a lot of what's going on for a very long time. We've got an extremely powerful, in-depth interview with Dave Mustaine that I'm going to air next week on the Nightly News, and I'll air excerpts of it the next day here on the radio. I haven't decided. I might air it first on the radio/TV. We'll see what we do. But next Thursday, it will air, and so all of that is coming up. Let's go ahead and go to this little teaser piece that'll be posted at Infowars.com within the hour. Here it is.
Something that everybody should aspire to do, to make a contribution to this great nation for the good of everybody. And if you don't know the difference between what's right and what's wrong, just open your mind up.
Dave Mustaine like you've never seen him before. An Infowars.com exclusive special report.
We had people die in Castle Donington. We had people die when we did Rock in Rio. I went out there, I showed up in a neck brace, and everybody's there going like, oh my God, what's happening, what's happening? I said, well, so-and-so called me this, and, I just want to show him that he's that. I don't want to play with any satanic bands. I'll play with bands that have darkness in them because we all have a little darkness in us or we wouldn't be human. But guys that are confessed Satanists and, I just don't really have time for that. I can't take any credit for James's songwriting ability or his guitar playing. He blew my mind when he picked up the guitar the first time because he used to just sing, and I did all the guitar playing, and in fact, I talked between every song too. And when he picked up the guitar the first time, I remember watching him, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's really, really good. And in fact, it almost intimidated me. The road got smooth, and my career's turned around. I got my best friend back playing bass with me. My kids like me. Traffic's gotten better. It's just a whole complete paradigm shift. And
the universe lays before you. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
That's right.
Coming to the InfoWar, next Thursday. All right, there you go. And we're going to put that out very, very soon on Infowars.com in the next hour or so. But it is an in-depth interview. He talks about Metallica and other things that he's never discussed before. He said a lot of it has never before been heard. And I'm like, wow, you're going to tell me all this? So that's coming out, and it'll definitely make the news. And he's got some political stuff in there as well. You know, his whole Santorum thing was taken out of context. He responds to that as well. You know, I tell you, Bob, freedom is getting more and more popular. Again, I don't do this to brag about myself. Neither do you when you talk about all the contacts you get, most of them off record. But when I go to a rock concert now, you know, just 3 years ago, I go to a rock concert, maybe every 10 people would stop me. I went behind the scenes and like the roadies for 3 different bands, like half of them were listeners. I heard the show today. And then I was out in the crowd and like every third person was a listener. It was just incredible. I mean, liberty is getting popular. I think that's why the globalists are trying to accelerate their whole program.
As you said, Alex, we're breathing down their neck, and I don't know what to do about it. They're losing the info war, and we just got to keep on hammering away until we break them down and take them over and take over the financial system so they can't do what they're doing and using it as a base of power.
You know what I'm worried about, Bob, is them trying to stage a false flag. I really see that being one of the only ace cards they've got right now.
And you're right, and there's very little we can do to control that unless we find out about it ahead of time, and I don't know whether we can do that or not.
I want to get into the technicals on the economy, what's going on with gold and silver, other commodities going up like oil, what's happening in the euro. What's the latest development since we talked?
Well, it's supposedly the price of oil is selling where it's at because of the disruptions in the Middle East, which have been caused by the United States government and others in embargoing the usage of the financial system as well as the sale of the oil of Iran. And Iran sells their oil now in currencies other than dollars. And you're into the same fight over the petrodollar as you were with Gaddafi saying, I want a golden dinar. Or Saddam Hussein, who said, I'm going to sell oil in non-dollar currencies, and he did for a couple of years, and he ended up at the end of the rope. These people are vicious animals, and they're going to continue to press and press and press. And I think really, if they can pull it off, what you're afraid of, the false flag operation, would be something, if they don't screw it up, that could really impress upon people that they need government. And so hopefully they can't pull that off.
What's the big trigger you're looking for in the economy that could accelerate the collapse? More and more of the system is admitting that we're really in a depression, but that, well, you know, the Federal Reserve's come out and said we're headed towards the edge of that cliff. Well, of course, they put us on that trajectory.